we're back with an all-new episode of Ask Jason Lee, and this episode is all about my new book, God Must Have Forgotten About Me. You got a question, I got an answer. Let's go. So I went live on my personal Instagram right here below and asked all of you to give me questions that you wanted answers to, strictly about the book. And so I'm now responding to those questions, and frequently throughout this video, I'm gonna make sure that I list where you can buy the book below. By the way, it's #1 on Amazon in 2 categories. So here we go. So my first question is from Shirley_H0615. How did you choose which life events to speak about in the book? For me, it was really easy. The goal with writing this book was for 2 purposes. 1, I wanted to start to separate myself a little bit from the work we do at Hollywood Unlocked. And 2, in doing so, I wanted to become more transparent with my audience and the healing journey that I'm going through of working through all the stuff that's happened over my life. So when we started the book, I didn't want to spend too much time before the things that I think helped shape who I am started. And that was around the 5 and 6-year-old point in my life. And so I really wanted to start with my childhood. So you learn about the 7-year-old kid who went through good times with his family and then bad times. And then you learn progressively how things got worse as I entered the juvenile justice and foster care system. And then eventually through different levels of abuse and enduring a lot of traumatic experiences, you know, me being shot, my brother dying in front of me. And then when coming through all of that and then getting back into society in that transitional place. And then eventually, of course, to where I am today, because I think most people look at me or have looked at me on TV or Instagram or my show and said that they thought they had a picture of me. But this, I think, is going to be a fully transparent story that gives people the actual texture to what a person like me has gone through to get to where I am. But more importantly, it'll help you identify maybe where you've been in life with different traumatic experiences and give you the hope that you need through my stories to be able to get through. The second question, __sugar.m. Do you discuss pivotal aha moments that have shifted the way you've made decisions and character development? Now, I'm going to leave everybody to have their own interpretation of what the outcome of those aha moments were. But one of my aha moments that I can tell you is the most powerful is one that I learned later on in life after my brother had died. So going through depression and having this thing prevent me from actually following dreams or having the security and confidence to go out and follow those dreams, you're going to find out what it was that helped me break through. And there's a really powerful aha moment in there for anybody who's been through death. I'll give you one example as it relates to this topic. So when my brother died, immediately I was depressed. I was overwhelmed with depression. It was too much to deal with, having seen him get killed, having gone back in the room with him and looked at his body and then the funeral and the whole grieving process and not having a supportive family. So it was about 10 years that I went through a real reckless depression, full of anger, violence, and experience of really pushing people away. And I was sitting at home one day watching Oprah Winfrey show, and she had Dr. Phil on. And Dr. Phil was talking to this woman that had lost her daughter, and she went on the show and he had helped her through the grief, and she was really emotional, and she said, my plan was to come here today, tell my daughter's story, and go home and kill myself. And Dr. Phil said to her, why are you choosing to remember the one day she died instead of celebrating all the life that she lived? And that was literally an aha moment that made me think about all the memories, the good memories of my brother that I was losing to the depression and the sadness and the grief. And so that immediately transformed me from mourning 10 years later to celebrating. And I thought that that was an aha moment that I definitely included in the book. And there's more. Question number 3. It's from ESMERELR. My hesitation about buying the book is the title. Do you really feel he forgot about you? Okay, so the title of my new book is God Must Have Forgotten About Me. And I created a title that I knew would be controversial, but if you know me, you know I love God and you know I'm very spiritual. I may not go to church every Sunday, but I absolutely have a relationship with God. How many times have you found yourself going through grief, abuse, a parent on drugs, or a person who's been murdered, you being victimized, a victim of rape or sex abuse? How many times have you not said, God, why God? Why have you forgotten about me? Why me? Why are you doing this to me? And I think a lot of the times when things happen, we tend to blame God. And I think that at every point through my journey, it was almost like I couldn't believe it was happening again and again and again. And so the feeling that I had throughout the journey was that I thought God must have forgotten about me. Like I'm just left alone. I'm just out here. But of course, you learn through the book that my journey of all of it was that this was a testament of my faith and my strength and my ability to endure and overcome. And it really is a book of hope. And so, yes, the title's controversial, but you have to get into it to understand it. And I think once you read all the stories, you'll appreciate the title. All right, the next question from MILF Chalk. How long did it take for you to finally settle upon writing this book, not caring about others' feelings or who it may hurt? You know, this is the thing that I find so intriguing, is why people are so afraid of the truth. Sometimes the truth feels great, and sometimes it's not. You know, you lost your job or your kid's been murdered. It's real stuff because life is real, right? Sometimes in telling your truth hurts other people. Not because you're telling it, but because they now have to be confronted with it. When I decided that this year and last year were going to be transformative years for me of working through all the stuff that I've been through, I decided that I had built a strong platform to reach people like you, and that now is my responsibility to create conversations that help people, to do action that helps people. And I really believe in sharing the pain that I went through and that maybe some of my family members have had to endure, and maybe people that I've come into contact with, that this was a book that was going to help them. You may remember, if you've been following me, that I talked a lot about these two kids who came up to me and said I was their hero because they were gay and their parents would beat the gay out of them, and that they were really uncomfortable with being gay. And so in the book, I cover my journey of self-discovery and learning more about my sexual self and what I wanted and what I wanted to explore. And that is something that I think is taboo for people who are at this level of success or beyond, to share very intimate details of sexual exploration. And I think that there's a lot of young people and people that are older who are going to want to hear that story because they have their own struggle. So I didn't really put a lot of consideration into whose feelings I was going to hurt, because in telling my truth, if the truth hurts, fuck it. Next question from Gut Judy. I can relate. Sometimes I feel forgotten. How do you feel now that your story is out there? I actually feel really good, because if you know me personally, I don't host a tremendous amount of clubs. I didn't build my brand to become a professional club hoster. Now, I like a party here and there, and I will do it for the coin, but that's not my mission. Before Hollywood, my job was working as a director of a labor union, and we used to do a lot of public advocacy, a lot of community organizing, and policy advocacy. And so being able to create a platform to speak on has always been my dream, right? Everybody knows that I want to have my own talk show, and it's coming. But in order to do that, I had to create my own platform. So I'm happy that it's out there, and I'm so happy that I get to share with people like you. And I hope that you share this link, and that you share the link to the book, and you tell your friends and your family, because I read a book when I was younger that motivated me. And that book really, really helped me get through a lot of things. And I really, really pray that this book becomes that book for other people. The next question is from Him and Shu. Does it talk about how you built Hollywood Unlocked? So when I started writing this book, God Must Have Forgotten About Me, I knew that there were at least 2 books in my head that I wanted everybody to read, really as manuals for how to get to where I am with Hollywood Unlocked. The first one is the emotional manual. So that's this book, God Must Have Forgotten About Me. This book will help give you the emotional fuel. You know, the fuel that how you have to get out of your own way, get out of your own stuff, work through what you've gone through, to be able to have a sound mind, to be able to have a clear vision for creating your Hollywood Unlocked, right? The next book is going to be the roadmap on how I built Hollywood Unlocked, and real stories of real life experiences that help to shape those decisions. And then we're working on classes and online courses and stuff like that, because I really believe that, you know, once you get success and you get the game, it's your obligation and responsibility to help other people. And I was frustrated coming in the industry, having gone through all of what I went through and believing I deserved that break, that nobody wanted to help me. And so I'm going to be one of the few people that starts to make change with that and giving you the keys to Hollywood. or whatever your Hollywood is. The next question from Jesquire.26. What was the hardest chapter to write and why? Chapter number 1 was one of the hardest chapters to write, and that was Surviving Stockton. Many of you live in a Stockton all around this country. If you're black and brown, you find yourself in an impoverished community, or a community without resources, or a community without love, or a community without proper policing, or a community with people who are there to hurt you. You have the same experience that I do. And so Surviving Stockton, every time I started reviewing the book, when the book was complete, I would review that chapter and it would make me emotional, and I would just stop there. You know, there's another chapter where I talk about going into foster care and what it was like to actually be taken away, physically taken away from my mother, and what that felt like. And so there's a lot of memories that I think are painful throughout the whole book. Undeniably, one of the hardest chapters to write was literally putting pen to paper on the experience of watching my brother get murdered. I mean, I've told the story on my show. I've said it on Love and Hip Hop. I mention it frequently because it is an important part of who I am and who I've become. And so writing those details, the graphic details about what the scene looked like and what the air felt like and how hard it was, how I physically felt, and the conversations that were happening all around me, and you know, the inability to be comforted by my boyfriend because I was on the down low at the time, you know, and the way I went through basically this traumatic experience by myself. So there's a lot of moments throughout the book that are really painful, and I describe them in extreme detail so that way you can really understand how it felt. Because if you or somebody you know is going through it, you're going to relate immediately. Next question from KLS7676. How long did the book take you from start to finish? You know, there was some fear in writing a book because I didn't know how to go through the process. And so I found a really good friend of mine who wrote his first book, and he had self-published. And I reached out to him and he connected me with the publisher. They have a really good process for helping new authors write their books and edit their books and come up with the ideas and help paint the story. So shout out to House Capacity Publishing. Couldn't have done this without them. But it took me about 9 months because you go through telling all the stories and then writing it all out and then editing what you wrote and then getting feedback and questions about what you wrote. And then more memories come to play and then you find out where to put those. And there's still a lot of stories that I just didn't put in the book because quite frankly, we didn't have enough space. But I will say that about 9 months to write the book, and now I'm an author. And I'm talking to a bunch of amazing people about going and doing interviews with them about the book. And I'm sharing it with everybody from fans on Instagram who really want to hear my story to kids that are in foster care who want to understand the hope that they need to have or they need to find in order to make it through, to Serena Williams and Cardi B. I mean, there's so many amazing people that have shown interest in this story, and I'm so excited that the 9 months it took to get it done is finally paying off. So now it's my job to help motivate you, to help me, or to help us become a best-selling author. It's my goal, my one goal. I don't care about making 1 cent from this book. My goal is to achieve the status of a New York best-selling author, so that way I can open up more doors to publish more stories like these that I hope will impact the world. So if you can help me, this is my call to action. This is me saying to you, please, when you're done watching this, if there's 20,000 of you that stop right now and go buy the book, and we've been putting the link to the book below. If you just buy the book or buy 2 books, one for you and one for a friend, you will send a message to everybody that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what labels people throw on you, your story matters and you can find the courage to sell it too because people will buy it. Why? Because they'll find that as a personal investment into living their best life. I pray that you do. Thank you very much. Ask Jason Lee is out. Peace.